surefire to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting to kind of observe it from the outside and I guess inside too for this long. Just, to put it in context, it's like, dude, you guys have no idea how good we all have it now. Like, there's never been a better time to be alive in America if you're into this stuff, because goddamn, the width and depth of just awesome stuff that's out there has never before, been seen in the history of mankind. But going back 10 or 15 years, bro, that was not the case. Like, it was just a shit show.
Well, I remember being a young cat, like the first cool guy shit you ever saw was like, you get the whatever NRA magazine, they had a Bravo company ad.
Yeah.
And that was like the shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So, welcome to the Big Tex Ordnance podcast. I'm Ike. We have Chris Floyd with us today, and then Chris Sizelove from Blue Force Gear, and your boy, AT, Ambrosia Terrebonne, or Jack Lewis.
Yeah, Jack Lewis, in case you didn't know.
But, so we're here at SHOT 2023. You had a chance to sit down with these two dudes. And Chris, you want to go first, kind of tell us about yourself and who Chris Sizelove is?
Sure, man. Hey, thanks for having me on, Ike. I really appreciate
absolutely,
it.
Man.
It's day 2 of SHOT, day 4 for me running, I guess, SHOT operations. So, excuse me if I'm a little punchy. I'm so jacked up on caffeine and nicotine right now by 4 o'clock, 4:30 on day 2 that, shit might get a little sideways. It happens. But, yep, Chris Sizelove. I work for Blue Force Gear. I don't really have a title so much. It's just like, hey, man, go out and do the right thing for our clients, our customers, and our brand. Like, roger that, easy day. So I get to support a lot of people and a lot of things that deserve supporting, and I like to support. So that's awesome. What about you?
So I'm just going to preface this. I think Chris has got a lot cooler background than that, and maybe we can coax that out of him. My name's Jack Lewis, if anybody didn't know. On the internet, I portray a silly character that I came up with. His name is Ambrosia Terrebonne, and that would how most people would know me, if anybody that is watching this would know me at all. Real life, day job, I'm a full-time peace officer in Louisiana. Got into, I just don't like saying law enforcement, but I got into that job a little bit later in life than normal people do. I was around 36. Prior to that, for 12 years, I was a commercial hard hat diver. So that is like the guys wearing the helmets. We don't wear the old men of honor heavy gear anymore. Sometimes you do have to wear heavy gear, depending on, but we don't wear like the old school like Mark V and
the brass.
Yeah, Spartan brass.
Give
me my 12 steps cookie.
Yeah, and it's just a surprise. Like a lot of us end up doing 12 steps by hook or by crook, but it is what it is. And prior to that, just submarine service. So nothing incredibly spectacular,
Well, sweet.
What's next?
I
guess I can do some background. If you want.
Come on, give it to us, Chris. Lay it on.
Yeah.
Let's see. I did 20 years in the Army, and at probably like one of the best times to ever do that, because I came in 99, and I got a couple years underneath my belt before the war started, and so that was kind of a cool thing. I'd spent my career in the Ranger Regiment. All of it, but like three and a half years there at the end. And it was just an awesome time to be in the military because of the GWAT, obviously, and being there from the first pump through like 2016 and seeing all of the growth, the explosive growth in all things, SHOT Show, and how all that technology started proliferating and why it was proliferating like it was, and then the tactics and all that kind of shit. It was just fantastic to be there for such a long time and actually see all that stuff. So the 13 trips that I took during the GWAT were just great, like just over and over and over. And it's a hell of a lifestyle, you know what I mean? And it was just fortunate. I got lucky, a lot of people do 20 years in the military and they just like bad timing, don't get to do anything, or we're just not in during those time frame or that time frame. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. I retired in 2019, and then Blue Force Gear picked me up because the CEO of Blue Force Gear, Ashley Burnsett, is just a great American and probably has a pretty solid dose of insanity.
It
'Cause
helps.
yeah, exactly.
A healthy dose.
Yeah. You know, because he called and I went over and talked to him and he's like, hey, come work for me. And I was like, doing what? You know, I don't have any skills. I have 0 college, like ever. It's one of those things I was going to get around to doing and just never did. And it's like, you know, now it's like too late. But he hired me anyway, and he's letting me do really neat stuff for everybody that we work with. So I couldn't be more fortunate. Like you were asking me about my transition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Because like COVID, like you got out 19, and then it's like COVID, and it was like dun dun dun.
Yeah, and what helped all that, man, was like Blue Force Gear is a pretty paramilitary company. You know,
Nice.
a lot of vets.
They're about it.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. We kind of run it as per, and I've been fortunate enough to enhance that a little bit by bringing on board a couple of my bros from the regiment. And so that just even makes it better, you know what I mean? So sure, we gripe around the office like all Rangers do. Like if you
Do you guys click up like in different sets? Like you got like the Ranger dudes, the SF dudes, like
it's at Blue Force Gear, it's like the Ranger dudes and then the Marines. Yeah.
I myself was a no limit soldier from the 99 and 2000.
I graduated high school in '99, so
Me too,
I
man.
remember. Yeah,
Me
I
too.
remember. Yep, hell yeah, man. So, what else can we talk about? I'm actually kind of a boring guy, man. Like I'm a highly skilled introvert. You know what I mean? So, unless you give me something to rant about, I'll probably be pretty boring here on the show. So,
I'm sure we can find some stuff to gripe about.
Oh yeah.
So are you there in Georgia?
yeah, I live in
where's home?
Savannah.
Okay.
We're headquartered in Savannah. And I spent the latter part of my career at 1st Ranger Battalion, which is in Savannah. And I'm originally from Arizona. And Arizona suffers from like a distinct lack of a beach. So when we went out to Savannah, my wife was like, "Hey, we're staying here." It's like, "All right, roger that," you know. And it just worked out like it did. And I drive out. I don't know about you guys, but I drive to SHOT
Holy shit.
every year.
Yeah, you were telling me you were like, I'm about to go in the car and
Yeah.
we're throwing this knife, and I was like, holy shit, you're driving from Georgia?
Yeah, it's great.
Just push through.
No, we do it in 2 days, so it's like 2 15, 16-hour days. But you know, multiple bros in the truck. Like got a Suburban, got a trailer, throw everything in it, and it's well, you'll find out once you go booth and all that shit.
Yeah.
Like dealing with the shipping companies
Oh,
and
God.
all the. It's just easier. I like to square away. You know, what I do for the company for SHOT Show specifically is just like make sure all the dummies are squared away, the mannequins, the gear, all that kind of crap. And it's a fun little project
Right.
to screw around for 2 weeks. And
And then when you all push out together, it's like you're not herding cats. You're not
Yeah.
trying to go back and forth from the airport, this, that, and the
Yep.
third. And
Exactly.
you're controlling the shipping of your product there. It's kind of
Yep. And
Yeah,
it takes a lot to get me to fly because I like refuse to be treated like a felon just because I'm getting on a plane.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times when I come out west here for classes or events or whatever, and I got guns and nods and ammo and shit, it's like, nah, it's all going in the truck and, you know, truck
Yeah.
vault. And
I basically don't fly with guns anymore. Like,
Yeah.
if I have to, I'll ship it. Like, that's, for me, that's easier. Like, it's just, there's always somebody that you're getting at the counter that doesn't know what's going on. It's the same regulations, but they interpret it 7 different ways every time you go.
Yep.
It's become to be too much of a hassle. Like,
this time I had a girl, it was her first time. I was like, ma'am, I need to declare a firearm. And then she's like, oh, is it unloaded? Yes, ma'am, of course. She's like, can you show me? No, ma'am, not at all. We're going to have to do honor system on that if they want
Yeah.
to get me in trouble when it goes through a little machine. I said, but I promise, but I am not pulling this thing out in the middle of the airport.
put the piece
Like, I
away,
fly,
man.
fly out of IAH, there in Houston. It's like the 4th largest city in the world. And, like, all the time we'll get, like, people that have never seen that before. It's like, I mean, surely this is more of a common thing, I would think. But
Nope. We have a mutual industry friend, I'm not going to say his name, that got a shitload of first class tickets out of Delta for like literally being accosted by a Delta baggage
Oh, God.
check person because of firearms, you know. That I'm with you. It's like I'm
Yeah.
not putting up with that.
Yeah, I used to, back when I was diving, they would have these emergent jobs that would come up. And this was, anywhere between 2005 to kind of chilled out a little bit in 2010. But they would get me all these short notice one-way flights, which is a red flag.
yeah.
And then my whole government name I'm not going to say here, but it's a very recidivist in nature, and apparently some dude with my name started shit in the Atlanta airport in 20, in '06. And, I would always be like, oh, you can't check in at the kiosk. You have to go to the thing. And then it's like, oh, I've been selected again for random check. Oh, big surprise. And that was just something that I put into my, pretty much added an hour, even for domestic flights.
Oh, wow.
For traveling. And, yeah, it's like I said, it's like, man, didn't I just give all you people like hundreds of dollars? Like, what is going on, dude?
So yeah, driving out shot is my ticket, man.
Yeah, I guess it's probably pretty nice to be in control of not only your timeline but like all your equipment.
It just makes me sleep better at night, and we have a good time coming out. We stop at the biggest ball of wax and all that bullshit, on the way out. Actually, on the way back this year, I want to stop at Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Oh,
so that's where they filmed Red Dawn.
oh, really?
And it looks the same.
Nice.
Like they haven't changed a whole lot. So I want to stop on the way back in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and like go to the famous scenes in the movie and like, take some stupid pictures.
And you guys got like the prop guns too, so
Yeah.
you can legit get the AK
Yeah,
and be like, Wolverine!
there may be a split front chest rack, with an AK Wolverine
Find a
shot.
fence, be like, avenge me.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome.
Yep. Because that movie, I don't know about you guys, but that was probably the most pivotal movie I saw when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was foundational.
Yeah,
dude.
that's a good way to put it. Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, that new one they made is complete shit.
Yeah,
but
it's worthless.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, we don't know her. So you're doing a lot of training there with Blue Force, right?
I like to kind of say the word education, just because training, in the commercial sector, we'll just say open enrollment training. In my, observational study I've been running for the last 20 years, when you say the word training to civilians, they're like, fuck yeah. When you say the word training to like lots of cops and military guys, they're like, fuck no.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like,
it's like, yeah, exactly,
dude.
Exactly. So I try to stick to the word education. And also just a personal thing is like I can't train anybody in a day or two or whatever. I get it. It's a small thing, but
It's like I can break you off with a piece.
yeah,
There's something that maybe you can get.
You can learn some stuff, and then it's on you to do the practice part and the training part. But you give me 6 weeks, train some motherfuckers. But 2 days is educational.
Yeah.
And I know I'm splitting hairs, and it's nothing I'm emotional about. But so education with what I'm doing with Blue Force gear is just that. It's like, hey man, I'm just gonna show you guys the stuff that we do probably not a good job of doing ourselves, with like why we're doing what we're doing, some of the requirements we were going after with the designs, and some of the little things that like you're not gonna see in an ad or anything like that. And a lot of our products, we're lucky in that our client base typically has some pretty solid, like, hey, it's got to be this, it's got to do this, it's got to be this size, it has to conform to whatever, and we do that. And then when it jumps over to like you can buy it off the website, and you're a motivated 2A supporter, or you're a mill guy, or whatever the case is, like you don't really realize what's going on there. So that's what I'm trying to do, is go around to predominantly our military and government clients, to just help them out with like, hey, what are you guys trying to accomplish with what you're asking us to do? And then just making sure everybody's on the same level. And on the commercial side, when I got there and was like, hey man, why is it when I go to a carbine class and I'm out there supporting somebody, or I'm just there as a student, and we already have 50% of the sling market, and nobody here has it sized right or knows how to really use it, and it's like, that's our fault. So yeah. I'm going to go out there and try to help that, you know what I mean, with just education stuff. And this is how it works, this is why it works. If you use it in this manner, you might get some performance benefits, like,
properly attaching, sizing, and
employing
a sling could almost, like, that could be a 4-hour block, like, no cap. Like honestly, and people be like, man, what? That sounds stupid. It's like it's pretty gangster to know how to actually use your sling and to have it fit
Yeah,
to
it's
you.
more than just like a.
And it's an enabler, you
Absolutely.
know, and it's, you know, at the very base of it, it's the holster. People haven't come up with this. It's the holster for your rifle, because sometimes like it's a 2-handgun. You know, we have handguns and they have their own holster, and then we have 2 handguns, and sometimes I need both my hands. So it's kind of it's cool to be able to do that. It is. I get what you mean. And on the other side, as far as the design and R&D, you know, just from different backgrounds, you know, like you said, you have a client and you happen to be a provider. That client has a very specific, like they say, this is what we're doing. This is what's not being fulfilled. This is what we need. This is, you know, certain materials, you know, certain requirements. And then you make it. But they knew all those things. They had all those answers. It's not very wide open. It's like you weren't playing the guessing game. You make this very specific thing, and then you're already, and then part of that R&D and that back and forth, that relationship with that client, you know, like you're getting some of that R&D money for it. You know, the tooling, all that, you know, maybe, you know, like in general, not just BFG. You know,
Remember, we're
like,
dealing with the government
right?
here,
We're dealing with the big G, capital G. But and then other providers like have to kind of recoup some of that cost, or they say, hey, it is pretty cool, and they're letting us kind of open that up to everybody. And then all the boo birds come in like, well, why isn't it like this? Why doesn't it fit my one oddball thing? Why isn't this? And it's like, they'll get to that. This right now, it's like you got to be patient and understand this is how this came about, and they're just kind of breaking you off on this.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that we don't. Like, I can't stand what I call the Leatherman approach to design,
Yeah.
which is like, hey man, I get it. Leathermans have a place, but at the end of the day, it's a shitty pair of pliers and a shitty screwdriver and
It
a
doesn't
shitty
do
knife.
anything well.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a
Yeah.
role for that. But we're fortunate enough that we don't have to do that very often. Where it's like, nope, it's purpose built for these 2 requirements or these 2 contexts or these 2 scenarios. And if you're running outside of that, then yeah, it probably you ain't gonna like it. You know what I mean? So that's the education piece. Is like, hey, what you're trying to accomplish is X, Y, and Z. We don't got nothing for you. Or like, you should go talk to these guys or whatever the case is. So yeah, you're right. Let me. The SHOT Show punchiness can come out here for a second. And I hear that a lot. It's like a sling is a holster for your rifle, and it's like an earworm, and it does kind of fit. But it's like, man, a holster will secure your fucking pistol 100% when it's in, you know, a good holster anyway. Will secure that frickin' pistol 100% of the time when your hands are off the gun. It's like a sling will not do that. It into and unto itself. There's a lot more to it than that. But I hear that a lot, which I like hearing, because then it gives me a chance to, like, okay, let's break this down and actually talk about it. Like all the things that can be done, should be done, and will optimize. That's way over and above what a holster will do for your pistol. You know what I mean? So I don't have time on this podcast to really like.
We only have
through
an hour.
all that stuff.
We only have an hour.
I don't
Like you
have
said,
a gun
it's-
here either.
We've established that the sling class is a 4-hour block, and this is only an hour.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think, but when I did the clinic with you guys, it was a 4-hour block, and I think we planned it as a 2.
I didn't get to make that one.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. I can go 8, no problem.
Right.
You know, with
It's a lot of good info.
yeah. The next time we run it, I want to do a full 8-hour clinic course, class, whatever you want to call it. I don't have a name for it, and do some other things. But
It's like, well, you know, go buy a pair of pants that don't fit, and then go run and jump and go on about your day. You know, it ain't. It's you can do it. It ain't. It's not optimized. So.
But the pants thing's interesting because I've been pulling that out of my pocket recently because we just came out with some belts, the chalk belt and grid belt, and again, because it's very purpose built and we didn't want to give up a lot in the design. You got to know your pant size well to run them, and of course the first thing that gets, you know, the fucking trolls on the internet are like, there's not enough adjustment in it. It's like, bro, you know, you wear 34 or 36 pants. Like, your pants aren't fucking adjustable.
Yeah.
Like, get a belt, a tack belt that's like for you. You know, it doesn't have 9 or 12 extra inches of adjustment in it that you don't need because that's
Get
all.
it together, Terry.
Yeah, yeah. I know. But yeah, our customer service guys are already like, you know, guys ordering the wrong belt size, and they're like, I've learned a lot about pant sizes in the last 6 months because there is no like real standard. You know, what Cry uses or what Levi uses or what QU uses is all like a little different.
Yeah, it's a little bit kind of make it up as you go.
There's like a 25% fudge factor in there, and with those belts that we just came out with, like that 25% fudge factor is like kind of a bad thing. You know what I mean? If it's not right, then it's not going to be right. Chris, dude, you got to do some talking, man. What's up with that hat? When's the last time you went to a Ridgeline course?
Symposium.
Nice.
So I got a class actually coming up at the end of February with them.
That's a good crew, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alex and his team are
Yep.
on point.
Yeah, we're gonna try to go up to New Hampshire this year. Go up to Ridgeline and take a class like up there at their facility, which I've heard is amazing.
Yep.
I've never been there, but Alex just has a really good way of like explaining stuff.
Yep.
And, super capable too, like knowledgeable, and he can convey that info very well.
Man, I met him at Shooter Symposium last year when,
Yeah.
when we were talking, and he showed me basically like the prototype of that drop that they made. Now, obviously, it's not all that they do. They but that right there, I remember looking at it, going like, of course you would do that.
Yeah, it's a cool product.
Like
You
I was
can
like,
carry
of
'em
course,
too.
of course you do that. And I went, and as soon as it came out, I went and got one, and I went to this place in Mississippi for 2 weeks, doing some extended training, and I think I busted out like the fastest, like smoothest, cleanest. I was like, I mean, it was like bam, and I was like, so somebody even on the catwalk was like, damn, nice reload. It was just like, it's like achievement unlocked, and
Isn't that so awesome in the design world? Like,
right.
Guns, kit, whatever. When somebody like really gets it right, everyone's like, well, fucking, of course you would do that, But it's just like, well,
Yeah, they
no.
just hit that nail on the head. It's just nailed,
Exactly.
you know.
Once somebody tells it to you in that way, it's like, oh yeah, of course that's common sense, but it's definitely not. You know,
Yeah.
until we got to that point, it was like everybody was fumble fucking around. It's being here. I don't know when did you get like into this stuff?
Probably like 2013, 2014.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I'm just a little baby. Yeah.
What about you?
So I think my first show was 2018, as far as like whatever we were going to call this space.
Okay. Yeah.
Probably
yeah,
like
fair.
2018, like 2017, 2018.
You guys make me feel old.
Yeah, maybe I was 2012, 2013. Anyways, it's not been
We're the same
long.
age. I'm making him feel old.
So no, but here's like the not the gripe, but just context is a lot of the people now in the industry that are 2010 forward type people like don't have the context of the guys that saw what this was in the 90s and all the way up through then. It's like everything was shit in 90. I really got into this in like 97. And then I joined the Army in 99 and stayed with it. But anyway, back then it was like, bro, we want a duty carbine, Colt 6920. Like, what else? That's it.
That's it.
Like,
Well,
no,
okay.
nothing else will survive
I
a 3-day
was-
carbine course.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day, because I'm out here with Sons of Liberty, and we were doing the range day at the Las Vegas Metro Range, and
Yep.
we were last year it was us and Van Comp and Dead Air, and this year was really cool to have Dead Air, Sons, Van Comp, and Leupold, and running into friends and everything. But I always get geeked up on those Van Comp shotguns because they the same age, really getting into stuff.
Yep.
Because back in the day, there was an assault weapons ban.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
even
I grew up. Yeah, we grew up under that.
Yeah, so it's like, and there's some young chaps that I work with where I'm like, dude, you don't know how good you got it right now, and I hate to be that guy.
Yeah.
But if I had an 870 shotgun and I put that Van Comp like big head safety on there, and I just thought I was the shit. I mean, I was like, man, I'm out here like I got me like a side saddle on this mofo, and
Ghost ring sights.
I am.
Yeah.
Maybe eventually I wanted to. But it was like, I'm that cat's ass in pajamas right now. One of these days I'm gonna get me one of these like 1911s, and we're gonna see what's going on. And because it was, I couldn't buy a rifle. Going back to like, I could not buy a AR-15 until the assault weapons ban ended or lapsed, and they decided not to re-up it, or they couldn't re-up it. Is what happened. If they could have done it, they would have extended it. But even when you could finally buy it, there wasn't nothing to put on it.
There was no market for it, man.
Yeah, and if you, the amount of time and effort, and if they did like to properly mount a light, how long did that take?
Yeah.
You know, remember, like, I'm not throwing shade at Surefire because, they were obviously working the problem. Yep. But, like, do you remember that 2-piece clamshell?
Yep.
With, like, the
it was
I think we had, like, 100
scope mount for a barrel. It's
yeah.
Like, yep, just put the light right there and call it good.
And then there was one where it's like, it was like a 2-piece, and, like, it was hanging off the side, and you put, like, 6 1, 2, 3s in it. Yeah. And I think you got, like, oh, man, you were, like, vampire killing with like 200 lumens.
Oh, I was gonna say it's like a blinding 60
right.
lumens.
Yeah, it was like I was like I got Pepe and Felipe. I got these two lightning bugs in here, and they ready to get busy. And if you had that, like, you were the shit. You might not have had a sling.
Yeah, I know, or some strap.
We were at a law enforcement agency a little while back, and they had. Before, what was it, like laser products before it was Surefire?
Yeah.
He had a laser products light for like the MP5 or something.
Yeah.
That's what's on my Ithaca.
It's got like this big remote battery that's like the size of that Rain Monster or energy drink, and that was like the remote battery for it, like massive.
I still have a laser products handheld light in my safe that I got when I was working at Gunsight in like 97 or 98, and I just, it's one of those things that wound up in like the junk pile,
right?
And I pulled it out like 2 or 3 years ago. I was like, holy shit, this is like a piece of history.
Yeah.
So I put it in the safe.
I've been using Surefire like my entire adult life.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've got a 624 4M for my Ithaca 37, and it says Laser Products Surefire Division.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting to kind of observe it from the outside, and I guess inside too, for this long. Just, to put it in context, is like, dude, you guys have no idea how good we all have it now. Like, there's never been a better time to be alive in America if you're into this stuff, because goddamn, the width and depth of just awesome stuff that's out there has never before, been seen in the history of mankind. But going back 10 or 15 years, bro, that was not the case. Like, it was just a shit show.
I remember being a young cat, and like the first cool guy shit you ever saw was like, you get the whatever NRA magazine, they had a Bravo company ad.
Yeah.
And that was like the shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. Paul did a lot of great work, still does great work. But, and then I guess early on, Colt was it. And then Bushmaster for a short time there was really making good stuff. And then I'm trying to think, I guess the next big player on the scene that was like, that's a duty rifle. That fucking thing will survive, a 3-day or a 5-day carbine class. And that's back in the day, too, where like a 3-day carbine class was like 3,000 rounds. It's like, we're just burning it down out there. It was LMT, their early stuff was amazing. And then that bred Noveski and all those companies. And now, like, man, it's amazing. There's so many awesome options for optics and lights and mounts and guns and holsters and mag pouches.
As far as like duty rounds go, I mean, like, so for the mill, there was only so many rounds. And as far as like variations of the recipe of the round, be it like, this is the round, there's just only so much of it, and then you start selling, making commercial sales to, either this agency, or, Joe Shit the Ragman, and people start introducing different variation. Well, if you've been designing something where because like, what are the main problems that we've always had, like, just like with an AR-15, it's like you got magazines can be the problem, which were designed to be disposable, and then again, assault weapons ban. You couldn't get a 30-round mag. So you held on to your clapped out 30-round magazine and your baby in the springs. You're like doing whatever, and getting guys comfortable to throw away a magazine again.
Yeah, I still have mags in my junk pile that say Glock mags and AR mags that say LE military restricted.
I've got some where it's like non-tilt follower. Like, I'll make a note and I'm like, good for training. Like, do you want to have a malfunction? Use this mag.
Yep.
Yeah, and. Yeah, I mean, once it gets opened up, you also introduce all this variation, and then that's where these other downstream effects come in, and then people are trying to chase that problem and do all that instead of identifying it and just saying like, okay, what do we need to do
Well, dude,
come up with the recipe. and build it.
Capitalism like won the day, man,
Yeah.
because there just wasn't a whole lot of money in this industry until the GWAT started. So that really got everything going, and then they figured out there's this massive civilian market
Yeah.
because of the assault weapons ban, and like everything just kind of lined up, and now we're at
Yeah,
where
because
we're at.
GWAT was kicking off right at about the end of
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and like don't sleep on the assault weapons ban, because if they wanted to, they'd come bring it back. So like don't sleep on it. Like just be aware. Yeah, I mean, and then all of a sudden there was nothing, one or two things, and all of a sudden there was everything, and then you're out in the woods, because then you're like, because some of it was shit, and you're sitting there going, and the kind of like with the AT thing, like I always joke like, my least favorite thing is getting killed in the streets, and a shit setup with shit accoutrement might get you killed in the streets, and I don't want that for myself or you, and then kind of sifting through that, and then it kind of goes back where it's like, well, man, I really don't know what to put on this, but man, that dude I saw on TV over there, man, he was jumping out that airplane, he was coming out that helicopter, man, he had that set up.
Yeah.
And man, what's in there? And man, I'm trying to figure out what that is, man, because I want that good,
Yep. It's a real thing, and it's not necessarily bad, but it's another not a gripe, but an observation is like in the last couple of years. If you're a civilian and you want to go to a course and you want to optimize your learning ability at that course, like please wear load carriage equipment, like rack or something. And I get, they're like, you should be changing mags out of your back pockets. It's like, that's suboptimal. Okay. And we're trying to just run you through to get, we're trying to teach you the optimal way to do this. Plus it like cleans up the line and makes everything flow and yada, yada, yada. And also understand that like, if you want to keep having this amazing capability in the industry, brother, keep buying shit, because the military is not a big enough market to keep doing what we're doing. Like, it's just not going to happen. If we had a time machine right now and you plucked a mannequin with fucking pano nods and a Sons of Liberty rifle and a frickin' the best suppressor ever and the optics and all that shit, right? And then you put it in a time machine and brought it back to 1996 and showed it to, SMU unit and they'd be like, yeah, we love it. 100%. That's it.
They
like,
lose their mind. They're like, man, that doesn't look what the future soldier thing
I know, right?
looks like.
But then if you said, okay,
I
we
thought
all
we had
good?
caseless ammo.
Yeah. Are you guys going to buy it? No. It's like, we have no money. Like, you know what I mean? So,
And there's ebbs and flows with that. Like, like whoever you want to come up with, whoever's the dudes in your mind, we don't have to say them, but like whoever's the dudes in your mind, they have those problems too. And it's especially, there's a lot of those places that providers, a lot of either manufacturers of either the firearms or the doodad that you put on the thing to put the other doodad on. A lot of those people did that kind of like because they were Americans and they believed in America, and they did that shit at a loss.
Yeah.
But they wanted people that were going to be using that, they were patriots, and they wanted people that were using that shit to have the right shit, and they would bend over backwards. And then on the flip side of that coin, the market kind of opens up, and it's like, well, hey, dog, I'm trying to make this money too. Like, so, the queue starts back here, and unless you got this amount of money up front, because there's such a thing as tooling. Like, oh, you got something super weird?
Yep.
Well, tooling's the thing. And again, with COVID, that's what we learned, like with our supply chain issues and problems, and the thing that you think is getting made over here is really getting made over here, because like everybody's kind of like doing the like with the guy out on the street with the cups, like trying to hide the ball. It's like, his machine time is a thing, and who's got the machines? And it's like, well, this machine right here is dedicated to this on this contract. Like, we have lawyers sign this stuff that this machine right here is going to run from here to here on this, and it's a thing. And a lot of people don't know about that type of stuff. Yep. And when they're asking, like, why can't we get this and why can't we get that, it's
yeah. I thought when I was active duty that there was just like all these companies here at SHOT Show that merited it in my mind. Not true, but had like warehouses full of shit just ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's not the case. Okay. Yeah. Like if there's not a demand for it on the civilian side, the military will not get it either. You know what I mean? So like you said, it's that balancing act, and we've really seen that in the last like 3 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And with the vapors of the GWAT kind of burning off, and they're not spending what they used to spend, the commercial market, like you guys watching this, literally are going to determine what the technology looks like in the next 10 years. So that like when the next shit kicks off,
Right.
they're like, oh yeah, thank God that these guys were still doing it, because the technology was still getting better because of that. Because without that, like the gov ain't gonna do it.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Like speaking on night vision, like we were talking a little bit about, like it's going to be incredible to see because the cost is going to come down. Who knows what's going to happen with like the digital sets? You know, they're going to get better, and it's going to be like far more achievable, far more like an egalitarian of a market. You know, and I don't, not a night vision guy, but like I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of it, but it is going to be interesting to see what happens there with that, because it's
Dude, I think that
know,
night vision, thank God, has reached like escape velocity from the government side, which is amazing. I remember 2006 teaching or being involved in the first, what I think was probably one of the first like open enrollment night vision courses, and there was a guy out there who's like, yeah, dude, I think I'm going to turn this into a business. Like, I'm going to start selling night vision to civilians. And I was like, you're fucking crazy. He was not crazy. And now look at it today. Like, the civilian offerings or commercial offerings for night vision, like, a lot of them exceed military, requirements and expectations, man. They're pushing the envelope with technology because they know that it's viable in the commercial market.
Yeah, there's a market for it.
Exactly. And that, like, somebody literally kicked over a rock. That's putting it lightly. They put a lot of effort into it and developing it. And like, look where we are today with commercial. I'll just say commercial instead of civilian, because I don't want to, civilian is not a 4-letter word. You guys, we're all fucking awesome. I'm one now too. So, but they put a lot of effort into that, I don't know, demographic, and fucking crushed it, man. And it's fantastic.
And it just, because like you said too, it opens it up. Mm-hmm. Like if you only got these guys here, and because you, especially with those special places, guys also end up kind of living. You're going to end up living in your bubbles wherever you're at, and you're not going to be open to a lot of stuff. And like the commercial sector, where they're open to a lot of people and they're open to a lot of input coming back in, coming in with their, whether they're beta testing it or, version 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. Sometimes you get that 4.5 in there, and it's pretty exciting and it's cyclical too. Cause I think, a mutual friend, Chuck,
mm-hmm.
I always talk about like 1971 in the Sante raid, those guys had their carbines, their Colt carbines,
yep.
And they had a weather window. They had to come back. They had to wait for the moon to be right. They had to wait for everything to be right for another month. And the guy's sitting there, I'm probably going to butcher this story, but the dude's basically sitting there with a shotgun news. And they're like, is there anything that you think that we can get in a short amount of time that's going to enhance, our probability of success? And what's the Armson OEG, the
yep.
occluded red dot?
Yep.
So in 1971, these cats were like, we need a red dot for shooting dudes at night. And they did it, and they did it, and they came back. But that was, Armson never developed that as a military optic. That was a straight up like civilian hunting optic that these guys were like, yo,
this might work.
This might work. And they said something like they said like their first hit, like when they were training, was like some at 40% and went all the way up to like 92%.
Oh wow!
You talking like hit probability?
Yeah, hit probability
yeah.
in training, and then how they just kind of laid hate on them chaps.
Yeah,
once they got on the ground,
they discovered what I now term the secret to shooting, which is put the red dot where you want it,
yeah.
Process the trigger, you're going to be fine, No, this is all like really, historically just interesting to see, especially now with, every couple of years something kind of makes a signature spike that completely contradicts what everybody was saying like 15 years ago. And a lot of that's good because technology's better and things like that. So like the recent 1911 platform craze is good. also kind of funny and
Yeah.
ironic, you know.
Well, and then when you find out like a little bit, Larry, we were talking about Larry Vickers, and he does all his videos, and basically comes down to like a lot of the inconsistency or like the unreliability that was put on that platform. It came down to the magazine. It was basically like some dude in the back in a shed, like kind of cobbling together these magazines,
Yeah.
and like you go to like a professional, like again, feeding the gun, like when we're doing malfunctions, it's like we're having a gun no work. What's like remove source, and like try to comes down to like, well, we had a shitty magazine for a long time. Now we got really good magazines. They're proud of them,
Yeah.
but
should
that
be.
strangely enough helps.
There's one of my really close friends, fantastic guy, been there, done that, has all the T-shirts, like has just been motherfucked for the last 10 years for running like a really tacticalized STI, double stack, because he was a race gun guy, but also a gunfighter. And he's like, I think this is pretty good. It doesn't hinder me in any way, and it's a reliable gun. Fuck it, I'm running it. And he was just like motherfucked for 10 years, and then now it's like that. It's but it's all good. That's
They
how
put out there putting a bad mouth on them,
Yeah.
And then and it's shit, dude. Like the medical side, I remember in boot camp, and this is like stuff that they're probably teaching. So in Navy boot camp, I'm sure your boot camp was better and harder and everything. But I mean, this was stuff they used to say. If you guys remember this, I don't know if they did this for you people, but you keep your ID in your front pocket. So if somebody has a sucking chest wound, you take your ID card and you put it over their sucking chest wound. And if someone, you can put a tourniquet on it. Nobody really ever saw a tourniquet. We would like hastily like make one.
Yeah, cravat,
Yeah.
grenade pull rings, and a stick.
And then it would be like, hey, so if you need to put a tourniquet on that limb,
It's gone.
you're going to save their life, but that limb's going away. And I remember, this is embarrassing, I want to say 2010 or 12, I was somewhere, and there was literally like an emergency room surgeon. Like, and his specialty was emergency medicine. Like, when he decided that was his specialty, he was like, I'm geeked up on this, and this is what I do. I remember him saying, I said something related as stupid as I just said about a tourniquet, and he looks at me, he's like, bro. He's like, dude, what was that from Korea, dog? Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, he says, no. He says, I'm doing surgery on people, and I literally put tourniquets on them, and they stay on them for hours while we're doing stuff. And like you said, the last 20 years has broken through a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot
just
of
the medical
the
technology
voodoo
alone.
magic curtains have just been ripped aside, which is great, because that's the same thing. Pre-GWAT, the medics and the medical stuff was always like, oh yeah.
It was
And
like some.
now it's like, whatever.
You're practicing
Teach
some
anybody to
dark
do
art,
that.
right?
Yeah.
And you're too stupid to kind of know. Like, you just hold the light while I'm doing this thing, and like even on the police side, look around anywhere you go. Like from your little village to a major metropolitan city, you're gonna see a patrolman with a tourniquet on him.
Yeah, hopefully a med kit.
Yeah, I mean, or it's gonna be nearby. It's gonna be in the car. You're gonna see that. You never saw that before, ever. Now you have 8, and then you would see guys that were buying them on their own.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then
Still see that,
you would see
unfortunately.
guys, and now you have agencies issuing them or multiple, and then figuring out like, hey, well, I sit in a car and having stuff on my back sucks, because I'm already going to get a problem from this belt. And then when I saw them dudes put the tourniquet in front of the
Oh
holster.
yeah, Will Petty.
Oh,
Yeah. And I was just like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
I was like, of course you would do that, and it's out of the way, and that's pretty far. And before that, they would, if you were into gear at all, it's I'm not trying to be homophobic, but the term they would use was gear queer. I think it got replaced at some point. You maybe now be called like a geardo. I heard, but yeah, and then like so people would, if you were trying to advance yourself and push your stuff on you, like people would just shit talk you like that. And it's same thing in the mill, like because there's people that are like too cool, everybody's too cool. Like, oh man, I just run what they give me, man. And it's
Yeah,
like, well,
never been a problem for me.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, man, you're a giant case study of one.
Yeah.
That we can't really derive data from that, but yeah, just because you've never had a problem, doesn't mean it's the right answer every time. But can we pause for a second? This shit just ran right through me.
Oh, absolutely. Easy day.
All right. Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
Logging off.
training timeout.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to take this opportunity as well.
We were making custom integral suppressors, and I carried the shop phone with me
Fucking
everywhere.
Q branch over here.
Yeah, but all I did was have that shop phone with me, and like every day of the week, I'd just be sitting there beating my head on it.
Yeah, and then it wears you down, man. Like it honestly does.
Lose your faith in humanity.
You say interaction with people that you don't know and are not your friends. You could call it customer service. You could call it whatever. But interaction with people that feel incredibly entitled and they're not your boy, and they're just shitting in your ear with some stuff, and you're like, it wears on you, man. Like, y'all motherfuckers need to tap out. Like, you do that shit like just 4-hour shifts, man.
Yeah.
Like you got it. Like, this is the duty roster. You have it from 08 to 12. You have it from 12 to 1600. You're 1600 to fucking 20. Like, let's go.
Yeah, luckily all my stuff, all email, and it's all like routed. So I just sit there and I'll bang out an email and get everything done real quick, and then I can float through the shop and help out where I need to.
Efficiency-ness is next to godliness. Yep. So, 100%, man.
You wanted to throw out the knife hand there. I saw a knife hand coming out.
This
I
is
see
not
that
the
you wanted to do
This
it.
is the knife. This is the standard hand. Like this is the standard. So what do you guys got going on?
Man,
coming up?
not a whole lot. We're trying to catch our breath a little bit. It's been a pretty busy couple of years,
Yeah.
trying to kind of stabilize and kind of fix everything and get everything working good.
You're bringing a bunch of dudes into the range, right, to teach classes and everything?
Yeah,
That's
So we're
awesome.
trying to really pump up the the training aspect there at the range.
Yep.
Because it's BTO Range and Training Center. So
Yep.
we're trying to live up to the name. We got Chuck Pressburg coming back.
Nice.
He's been out there before. Bill Blowers is coming.
Chuck buddies, gang.
Hell yeah. We got a lot of good guys coming out. Drawing a blank on a bunch of the others. We got 5 Sons of Liberty Armorers classes
Yep.
on the books. You're going to be coming out. We've been talking about that.
Yep.
Well,
I'm interested in this Sons of Liberty Armorers class. You're like, lube it up and fucking shoot it. Like, how do we take it apart? It's like, you don't need to, but if you're super interested, here's how to take the lower off and look at it.
It's good. Like I said, it's like when sometimes you got to know how the sausage is made.
yeah.
And
it does have value.
Like I've been through the course for myself, and I have a sheet of paper that says I'm an armorer. I have no armorer's tools. However, it has allowed me to identify certain things and use certain tools to check certain spacing to say, this is above my level, and it needs to go back to RMA to somebody else. Mm-hmm. But to at least kind of have that knowledge that maybe, and then just seeing, how things work. I mean, it is important. I mean, if it's something, some people want to call it a life support system, or integral to life support, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's good to know how it works.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of places like, just back to Chuck, powerful Chuck Presswork. I mean, I know for you guys, for a long time, I mean, you could take it up, you could take the bolt out. I mean, would they let you take the buffer and the spring out, or would you get like Article 15 for that? I know definitely if you wanted to take if you wanted to take the trigger out, like you would catch a ration of shit.
No, we had guys that would do all that. We in the Ranger Regiment, even back in those days, sent guys to the armorer's course, so they were like qualified, and yeah, I had a time in my life where I totally geeked out on all that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk about dwell time and all that
Yeah.
kind of, and how this damn thing actually functions, and some of the things, like some of the pitfalls you can
Right.
get into, yeah, I spent some time doing that in my younger years, only to find out it's like, hey, I actually was an apprentice gunsmith for 2 years
Right.
before
Cool.
I joined the Army, and that taught me I don't like doing it. It's not my thing. So maturing through that process is like, I'm not a tinkerer. I'll just buy a gun from people that know what the
Right.
fuck they're doing, shoot it till it breaks, and give it back to them.
Which makes it a lot easier to find, now that like, more reputable sources
Yeah,
as
exactly.
far as like
Yep.
people. Because, I mean, as Mike says, No, there's a lot of gun plumbers out there, man.
Yeah, I got a Dremel tool
And-
a, I'm
Yeah,
a gunsmith.
I was super fortunate to go to the shop in San Antonio there, and they have legit. Those are legit armorers there, assembling those guns, and they're pros.
They got tools and shit.
They care. They care. They give a shit, and watching them go through that process, and it's not like everybody's been there. You're at your boy's house in the garage, and you got like a vise, like not secured on top of his washing machine, and you got like your T-shirt wrapped around it, so you can kind of like get some torque on something. And lo and behold, that ain't the way to do it. You might not get your best performance if you get any performance at all.
And I totally understand that, like, a lot of adult males are tinkerers, and I'm just not one, but I understand it's a thing. And everybody has that buddy that has, like, the Franken gun that they just constantly beat their head against the wall because it won't run.
It's
the best bolt and the best barrel and the best upper. And it's
then,
like, yeah, bro, and it ain't running.
And here's the thing, like, you can buy performance. You absolutely can buy performance. You cannot buy experience. The experience is the sweat equity that you need to put into it, and it's hard, and it takes time, and people don't want to fuck with it. And then and we all have that guy that's always tinker fucking with his shit, and he's like chasing this thing, and it's like, well, dog, you put an adjustable whatever here, and downstream of that is whatever here, and this wasn't sized appropriately there. You thought that, like, I don't know, like a titanium gas block was good. Well, titanium on its own, like, awesome material, it does not jive with a steel barrel. And they have like different, like, they heat up differently, they contract differently, they expand differently, and you're wondering why you're having problems. I made a video a long time ago, and Mike made the video first, and I stole it, and I just did a thing where I'm AT, and I had a 300 blackout, and I shot like a couple supers. And then I just said, now I'm going to use the adjustable forward assist. And I just put the subs in, and I went 1, 2, 3. And it was like, 300 black out of a 9-inch gun off, and it was like, funk, funk, funk. And I thought that it was very obvious that it was a joke. One, it's a video off a dude named Ambrosia Terrebonne. And he's talking like this, hey, what's up, y'all? I got this adjustable forward assist. And I would think it would be very clear that maybe that's not the guy that you're going to take your advice from. And, the guy ran into some of the Suns guys, and they were like, hey, man, that was funny. But the amount of phone calls that we've gotten about this guy, adjustable forward assist, that ain't funny. And people, like you said, it goes back that dude's always trying to chase that edge. And I get that. And there's places with your gear. It's highly recommended to tinker fuck with your gear to find what's optimal for you. But then there's that point of just like you get the diminishing returns, and then you get the negative returns.
Yep.
And it'll flip on you.
Yep. Yeah, if I wanted a high performance car, I would just go to Porsche and buy one.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I'm not diminishing the guys that like to just do that kind of work. I don't, and I can't. It's like not a tinkerer.
No, keep buying parts.
Yeah, keep doing that.
Keep buying parts in Sons of Liberty, and
I use you guys to tell me that, like, oh yeah, that trigger is the
Go to
best.
Big Tex
I've
Outdoors.
been through all of them. That's the one. I'm like, okay, great. Then I'll do that. But,
Right.
I'm not going to go through that process on every piece of equipment I have. I'll just let other people do it, and then hopefully companies will just assemble it all and build it correctly. And
it's funny how that happens, right? We just can go like, oh man, I can just go get it.
And they're pretty good at building that. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
like-
let them do it.
Yeah, they understand inch pounds. Like, that's a thing.
Yeah, like
Not to be confused with foot pounds.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. Or how about certain things that got just a 1913 rail, the standardization of that.
Yeah,
That people
there is a spec.
some manufacturers cannot maintain that spec. But like you said, like doing gun work back in the day. Okay, you got this scope. What gun are you putting it on? Word. Well, we need to get these rings.
Yeah.
And then we need to get this thing that those rings interface with that scope to put on this gun. And it was not 1913.
Yeah. Yep.
It was like
Is Weaver
yeah,
rails
yeah,
a
like
thing
like
anymore?
yeah, like a guy would
I've
come.
seen
Yeah, a guy
stuff.
would come in. Yeah,
Yeah.
you would get. Say you got like went bought a 30-06 and you bought like your Simons like 3 to 9.
Yep.
And the guy's going like he basically goes to his tackle box and he starts like stacking tolerances now of all these different. And now it's like in general, you can just kind of go.
Yep.
And that took how many years of the AR-15 platform being about
Well,
50?
if you started all the way back to the early 2000s.
And then everybody else, and then it trickles down to everybody else,
Yeah, I still have a Dawson rail on one of my 1911s.
Oh, wow.
From back then when that was there wasn't
Yeah.
a 1913
I still
shit.
have the original Dawson rail with the original like Surefire light.
And you had to get a guy
Like-
to drill, tap it,
Yeah.
put the screws in, hopefully put some sort of
Yeah,
Loctite on it.
or
Hopefully.
TIG welded on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that is to say, I fucking love living in 2022 in this
It's nice.
industry. Yeah, I know, right?
23.
Oh yeah, shit.
23,
It is
yeah, no.
23.
Man, you got the fog bad.
I know,
I mean, we've only
It's
been
late.
doing it for like 20 days. We've only been doing it for 28 days, guys. You got to give them a grace period there.
Now that we're talking about it, I may have opened up today at the booth is like all the media, content creator people are going around, and I'm the guy that gets tagged to stand in front of the dummy and talk about whatever the fuck, and I may have said like, "Welcome, we're at SHOT Show 2022." I don't even know now, and I'm trying to remember. Like, did I say that?
Well, there was a bunch of people that weren't at SHOT Show 2022. So this is their SHOT Show 2022.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Well, sorry, back to bringing people in and
Oh, yeah.
supporting people. That's cool, man, because I'm doing it too in Savannah, Georgia. I have the Joint Training Facility, the JTF at BFG, which is a shoot house, and it's all indoors, and it's UTM only. It's not a live fire shoot house, and that's what I'm also doing this year. Is I put the word out to my bros, like, hey, I'm not using this place during the weekends because I'm not doing open enrollment classes very much. I want to do some. I just haven't plotted any, and really I kind of screwed myself here because as soon as I put the word out, all my weekends filled up in the JTF with great companies doing great stuff. I got Duffy in there doing his weaponized geometry, Condition 1 group doing their thing, and Apex Training Solutions doing the, it's just great to support all those guys that are doing good stuff.
On that, so people know, like, what's the size of your facility and what does it offer?
So we're in Savannah, Georgia, and it's a pretty simple shoot house, really. It's just 4 rooms, 2 transverse hallways, but it's all modular, you switch it up and all that stuff. And what's really cool about it, as opposed to most live fire facilities, is it's code constructed. So half of it's code residential, the other half of it's code commercial. Oh, wow. Yeah, which I get some good results out of because it's the real space, and there's a section of it I can kind of cut off to be like, this is literally a single wide trailer, for my LE clients and stuff. You could call it like a story and a half. It does have a stairwell and another room, and all that good stuff. And I just love it because I'm at that point in my life where it's climate controlled and it's lighting controlled, so. And I really dig doing night vision and low light work in there because you can go in there at 9 o'clock in the morning, do your classroom instruction, do all that good stuff, flip the lights out, and then do nods work, till 1800 at night, all the way through. And dudes are still like mentally with it because that's kind of a drawback. I'm sure you guys have been to night vision courses, and that's why the fall and the winter's like night vision season,
right?
Because you start a class.
It doesn't get daylight or nighttime at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Because even in those classes, you start really training well, doing good shit under nods at 7 o'clock at night. By midnight, everybody's shot out. So you're only getting a couple hours there. But in an indoor facility, you can do that shit during the daytime. Everybody's mentally with it. You can get a lot more value out of it. Not appropriate for most of what we do on ranges.
And there's so many too. There's a lot of shoot houses that are live fire and sim, and then when you make it live fire, they kind of get that set footprint, and dudes start gaming the house.
Yeah.
And you just do a little switch-o on them.
Yep.
It's like, oh man, that door was there before. Oh no. Got to rely on the tactic now. And then like your facility, like how big is is it all indoor?
Yeah, so it's a 25,000 square foot building, which yeah.
How many lanes?
We have 12 100-yard indoor lanes.
Damn.
Yeah, 6 and 6, so it's split up into 2 bays.
Hard flex, dude.
Yeah. And then we've got 12 25 yards, so it's 8 and 4 on the. We have 2 bays for the 25 yard. But yeah, we use like we host night vision classes out there, like local law enforcement, like Harris County, CBP comes out there and does their night quals and stuff because they can do it during the middle of the day.
Yeah. That's the answer.
Don't have to schedule overtime.
Can you turn off the IR safety lights so you're not, even though you're doing night vision, you don't get like backlit?
Yeah.
Do you have classrooms as well?
Yeah, so we've got a classroom outside that we usually host the armorers course in. We can fit like 30 people without armor stuff. For the armorers, about 20, because you got to have room for tools
all your
and
shit
stuff.
out,
Yeah. And then we have another one inside, which we use for like LTC classes and small stuff, which we were in there with you. That'll fit about 20. It's kind of crammed, but we got audio visual in there. And the one outside, we have 2 TVs and stuff, 2 armorers benches. And then, yeah, so we've got the 4 bays, and we've got a big store in there, bunch of guns, optics, gear.
So when a guy goes there and he goes like, "This is shit,"
Yeah.
or the
Get
dude
your
that's
ass out there
or
and
the dude
fix
that's
it.
or the dude that or the dude that's doing the hip pocket reload, and we're like, "Hey, dog, it's recommended maybe."
That
might
is
happen.
viable. I also have a pro shop off of the shoot house for the same reason.
Yeah.
They get in there, they have problems. It's like, hey man, you should probably buy a real light and take that. I'm not going to say it, but take that piece of shit off your rifle and go out there and get a real goddamn light. And they're like, yep, that's the answer.
Yeah, I was the light guy for a long time. Some people still know me as the light guy. I was certified lumen being, and
I like that.
Just kind of always. Yeah, and shit, dude. I used to say, man, if it don't start with an S, don't fuck with it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But now that's not the case. There's still a tremendous amount of dog shit out there, hammered dog shit. So just, do your due diligence. But, there's some more guys that have come into that space that have offered.
Knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like sitting there, like legitimately, like murdering vampires. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Hashtag like all the fucking.
Yeah, all the
lumens.
yeah, and the Candela. Like
Yeah.
before
Yeah,
before we just even knew lumens, and now we know Candela.
No, it's all great stuff. Just all the technology's just
Dude.
been so. It's done like a 150-year leap in 20 years, 25 years, I guess now, because there's a market for it, there's money in it, and there's passionate people that are doing it for the right reasons. Which is like, I don't know in other, because this is the only real industry I'm in.
Yeah.
I don't know if other industries like have that going on, or if this one is special because a lot of the gear that we use and things that we're doing like are pretty fucking important because lives are on the line. Things like, I don't know if the overland. You guys into overlanding? I don't know. That's kind of like
I would say
symbiotic.
cars, like the car industry,
I like the
kinda
glamp.
has some stuff like the gun industry, but
Yeah.
like not on the same level. Like you have so many car companies out there, like building stuff for people and everything, like overlanding, and then like street racing and shit like that. You have all the sub genres, whereas guns is just one massive industry.
Yeah, I was as far as like capabilities of certain products. When people say like, when am I going to shoot that far, or when am I going to need to be able to do this? And Jay Leno, I was watching a video of him, and he was talking about a car that he had that goes 200 miles an hour, and somebody saying like, why would you need a car that goes 200 miles an hour? He's like, you don't get it. If I have a 200 mile an hour car, at 100 miles an hour, it's only working half as hard, and 100 miles an hour is pretty fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of, you get these folks that are pushing it, they find those points, and then they make you something that will sustain that and more. So hopefully whatever your worst situation isn't there.
Yeah.
And you have something that's going to faithfully serve you and get you out of that situation, or into it, depending on what you have going on.
Yeah, stuff being overbuilt, and that term gets thrown around this industry. I don't
Yeah.
know about other ones,
God.
but
Yeah.
I've never viewed that as a bad thing. Sometimes there's some weight issues, but that's like small fry shit. Go to the gym if you're that concerned about it. But yeah, but in those industries, I wonder if this one gets a little emotional sometimes because of the importance of the things that we're a lot of us are doing and working on. If like you go to an overlanding class and some guy's teaching how to change a tire or whatever on the trail, And some dude's like, "Fuck you! That's not how to do it. You'll fucking die if you do it like that."
Yeah, if they're like,
You
if
know,
they're,
like,
if they're getting spicy in the comments, if
Yeah,
they're at
yeah,
each
yeah.
other, like if there's like the overland like social media beefs,
Yeah. I don't know if that's the case. It may be. I don't know.
I know, like, I remember when everybody was like trying to, everybody's got their favorite trainer, and if you've never done anything, you get training from somebody, you kind of fall into stuff, and then people were going after each other's trainers. Well, I trained with this guy, and you only trained with this guy, and all this stuff. And I
My
remember,
dad's cooler than your
right?
dad.
And this guy's a shill, and the guy's is this. And I remember I went through the what was it IPIMBA, so it was the International Mountain Bike Police Association.
That's the thing.
Yeah. So when you see guys like on the police mountain bikes and all this stuff, you got to go through a class.
That's when
And-
you get your cut.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's when it's when you get your colors, and it's usually going to be high vis, and it's like going downstairs and using your bike as a weapon if you have to, or a barricade, dismounting procedures.
Wow.
But there. At the end of it, I remember the instructor was like, if you go down to so-and-so bike shop, just tell them Larry sent you. And it was like, oh. And that's when I sat down. I was like, oh, it's like this everywhere.
Yeah.
Like whatever we're rallying against and like problems that we're having, it's like every training, like even with the training, I'm like, every training industry has it. Like, there's probably, speaking to what you're saying, there's probably like everybody gets in their thing. Everybody's like, my kung fu is best kung fu.
That's fine. That a healthy dose of that is good because it keeps everybody like on their toes and moving forward and pressing the envelope and stuff like that. So I get it, but it does become comical sometimes, or it treads the line of comical and bullshit, But it's all good. In my later years here now, I'm like not being so judgmental about people and things. It's like, worst case scenario, it's a victimless crime. you
Right.
know?
Yeah. That's cool.
Well, guys,
Is that about the hour?
yeah, I
We just
think-
burned out an hour talking about nothing.
yeah,
It's
that's
a
how
good
it goes,
time.
man. It
I
just-
mean,
Yeah.
at least I got to sit down.
Yeah.
No shit.
Thank y'all for coming out, man.
Hey, thank you for having me on, dude.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks for supporting Blue Force Gear and me and letting me bullshit with you, and looking forward to getting out to your facility and doing
Yeah.
some work. And if again, call us anytime for support and help. And I got a big crew, thank God, of guys just like me to go out and do the education piece on our gear and why it is what it is and all that kind of stuff. And I'm excited about 2023. I said it right this time.
Yeah. There was just forceful backup. Man.
Yeah.
It wasn't-
I'm excited about 2023 because this is my year to like really get out there and do it well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
just, for me, it's been a good show. I mean, mainly for everybody else, I think it's a common experience a lot of people have, just seeing your friends, seeing
Yeah.
people, and then finally meeting that one person that you've been talking to online.
Yeah.
And then finally
Shit,
putting a
right?
face to, like, seeing him in real life, like, yo, yeah, dude. Like, oh, man, like, you're actually cool. I said it, I'm here with Sons of Liberty. It's technically, this is the third place I've been where it's been my duty rifle and my personal rifles, and they just make, as we say, like, these things fuck. They just do. They work. They have everything for your applications. And then just on a personal note, like, you guys have always supported me. You guys have been always very forthcoming. You guys were the first people to really reach out to AT and be cool to me as Jack the person. And if I've never said it before, I'm incredibly appreciative of it.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. You're a good friend.
Thank you, man.
Dude, I think a lot of people in this industry would say that about you and your team, man. It's solid.
And if you got some bad shit to say,
Keep it to your fucking self.
yeah, we'll find you.
So we appreciate everyone watching. Thank y'all for tuning in and all the good feedback we've been getting. Really appreciate the support, and just keep telling your friends about it. And thanks for listening and making us a part of your drive or your life or however you're listening or watching to this. But I guess we'll see you next time.
Where can we find this?
Oh,
The YouTube.
the YouTubes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the podcasts, the YouTubes.
Whatever is on your computer that you keep in your pocket.
Yeah, your little handheld.
They'll be able to
computer.
find it.
Yeah. But
You have the sum of mankind's knowledge in your pocket, which includes the latest episode of the BTO podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I will also argue adjustable bolt carrier groups on it.
All right.
And cut.